Hi, I'm Paris from Paris May Reads, and today we're talking all about ARCs. I recently shared that I got approved for Riley Sager's upcoming release, and it prompted a lot of questions about ARCs. We're going to be covering everything ARC related today. What are ARCs, where you can find them, who distributes them, how they get distributed, how you can get them, all the things. So here we go. First up, what are ARCs? ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy, and this is an early copy of a book that publishers and authors send out to readers to read and review pre-release. What this does is it facilitates reviews and hype and feedback all surrounding this book once it's published, which means when people go to read a new book, they can look at reviews that are already posted and see if it's a book they think they would enjoy or not. Another thing to note about ARCs is that they are usually uncorrected proof copies, which means you need to be okay with reading some typos, grammatical errors, formatting issues. A lot of the ones that I've read have had crazy formatting. And you need to be okay navigating that because it's not going to be the final edition or copy that's sent to print once it's published. So take that into consideration. It took me a little bit when I started reading ARCs to get used to having an uncorrected proof. Additionally, the majority of ARCs, at least that I obtain and that are more easily and readily available, are going to be electronic. So you can either read them on your Kindle or on a device or tablet. The physical copies of ARCs are harder and more rare to obtain, and we will also be talking about how I get those. Okay, let's dive into how do we even get these ARCs. There are 4 main ways I'm going to break down how I get ARCs, and we're going to talk through each one of them in detail. It's going to be authors, publishers, booktubers, and NetGalley. First up is authors, and this mainly applies to indie authors, but if you have an author that you enjoy reading, specifically an indie author, follow them, sign up for their newsletter, and keep an eye out if you know that they're in the works of writing their upcoming book, because they will post, I assume, both on social media and their newsletter, that they are opening up their ARC team or ARC application or street team. There's a lot of different ways that authors brand their teams that help them basically market their book for them. And the reason why indie authors are more apt to do this is because traditional publishing houses help and do the majority of the marketing for their authors' books. And so indie authors don't have that, and they're doing it all themselves. So we love supporting our indie authors. And let's talk about what you can expect in an indie author ARC. So like I said, make sure you're following them on their social channels, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, whatever they tend to be on, and sign up for their newsletter, because I assume that they would be sending all the information to their newsletter subscribers as well. One of the biggest questions I get about ARCs is, do you have to have a book-related account or a book-related social media presence? And this varies depending on how you're going to request the ARCs. So with indie authors specifically, it depends author to author. Some authors do want book-specific accounts because that's their followers are going to be the target audience, more or less. But so many people read. I don't feel like that is super exclusive. But I've worked with a couple indie authors more personally, and some of them don't care if you have a personal account or not. The majority of the things they want to see are probably that you're posting regularly on social media and that you are active in your posts and your stories, and that people are used to seeing you share information and content via your social media platform of choice. The same applies for follower count. Some authors, as they gain popularity, will probably tend toward higher follower counts. I actually don't know if I personally know of any that have a cutoff, but some might have a minimum follower count that they want to see from you. But a lot of indie authors, especially ones that are just starting out or have lesser books or don't have as big of a social media following, are going to be more open to lesser number of followers and non-book accounts. Additionally, authors might use a third-party service. So when they open up their street team or their ARC team, and I'll talk about those in a minute, they might offer this through a third-party service, which means they'll most likely send out via their newsletter or on social media a link to sign up, and it will be a third-party service that handles who picks, like they will be the ones, not the author, picking who gets an ARC. They will be tracking if you're actually doing what is required when you get an ARC. So again, author to author, it varies, but ARC teams are usually specifically for just the book itself. And a lot of authors open it up for a new ARC team and new applications each book. Some authors have a core team and or a street team where they have a group of people who they know love their work, and these people also want to continue reading their books and support them however they can, and those tend to more look like doing cover reveals and blurb reveals and character reveals. I mean, the list goes on. Some authors' requirements are like a long list, which again, they're doing the marketing all themselves. So it's really up to you to decide, am I okay committing to all of that? Like, do I? And a lot of accounts literally just hype up indie authors, and it is so fun. So just know going in that whether it's the author or a third party, whatever you're signing up for, they're going to be tracking how invested and how much you are participating in all the check boxes that they want you to do. So that means if you're supposed to do a cover reveal and a blurb reveal and then feature on your stories and then do a reel of the book review or something. If you don't do all four of those, you might get tick marked for future applications of books. So you want to make sure basically you're putting your money where your mouth is, and what you sign up for is what you are actually doing. Okay, now let's dive into publishers. Publishers can be more difficult to get into their reviewer program. They are not as accessible as authors are. Publishers are also the main way that I get physical copies, and I'm able to do this because I have a higher following. Actually, one of my biggest goals when I started my book account was to hit the 1,500 follower, because I knew there were a handful of publishers who that was their cutoff. Like, you have to have a minimum of 1,500 followers to get into their reviewer program. And this was before I even knew of NetGalley, which we're going to get into soon. But I didn't even know that you could get ARC copies of books outside of publishers with under 1,500 followers. So the publishers are a little bit more picky with what they want to see. You're going to have a book account. You're going to probably have to have a minimum follower account. But they will be the ones providing physical copies of books. And sometimes they're ARCs, and sometimes I've gotten the finished hardback copy of what they're about to distribute for publishing. So it depends. Again, each publisher has different requirements and different expectations. They do also do a lot of book distribution through NetGalley, which I will get into again in a little bit. But if you're a part of a publisher program, a lot of times they'll send you the entire list of their books that are upcoming with pre-approved links to the NetGalley ARCs, and you can choose which ones you want and click through and get access to it. It's wild. You have to be very careful when that happens. I will say publishers probably have more lax standards. A couple of the publishers I'm on with, they don't have or at least maybe I should look into it more. They don't have any you need to post on this specific day, it's to be a full review, you need to do a cover reveal. It's not going to be as involved as what you will find with an indie author. So they do have more lax posting requirements. The way that I've gotten onto publisher programs is through their applications. You can find a lot of them on their websites. If you just go Google publishing houses, you can usually Google their name and then reviewer program at the end of it and find it on their website. I also follow an absurd amount of publishers on my Instagram, and I know some people have been able to get information from DMing on social media. I have not gone that route. I have either emailed the publisher directly or I have signed up for their program via their website. I've only emailed with publishers a couple of times, and it was one that I remember specifically was when I read a book on NetGalley, and I had read the first one, so this was the second book, and I absolutely loved it. And I reached out to the publisher asking if they had any physical ARC copies they could send me, and They emailed me back saying they didn't have any more physical copies, but here's the link to our reviewer program. So that's how I got into that publisher's reviewer program, because I got the link directly to their program, and then I got accepted very quickly after. Some publishers don't even check their applications for a while. One publishing reviewer program that I'm on, I actually applied twice. I never heard anything. And then I actually reached out to them via email and asked, like, hey, my recommendation for finding what publishers to reach out to or look into programs is go through the books that you've enjoyed and see what publishing houses publish those books, and then reach out to them. Usually they have similar books and authors that you can get early copies of. Okay, next category is third-party book tours. If you Google or search Instagram for book tour companies, there are a lot of different ones out there, and a lot of publishers work with those third-party companies to push their books out, and this is another way that I've gotten physical copies of books. These ones also want to see book-specific accounts on your social media, so you're going to want a bookstagram or a book talk. These companies also have very specific posting requirements. It is called a tour for a reason. Usually you sign up for a specific date, or they assign you a specific date, and you have to post your review or feature. They don't always necessarily are reviews. They just want to get the book in front of people and eyes on it. So you have to post on that specific day. Use specific hashtags. Usually publisher or book review programs want you to use specific hashtags and tag certain accounts in your caption. The third-party book tours kind of fall in the middle of the indie authors who have pretty intense, like, there are a list of things we want you to do because you're helping us market our book, and then publishers who market books themselves and have significantly more money to send out books. I don't do many book tours just because once you start getting into this and start getting books with deadlines, it changes your reading. And so I'm actually trying to pull back from ARCs, and I say that right as I have applied for a couple that are coming out. But I took the last 3 or 4 months just not applying for any ARCs, and I am only officially, I think, on one author's ARC team. So it is very easy to overcommit to these things. So word of caution, if you find yourself figuring out your best plan of attack to get books, because I know everyone wants free books, all right? Don't overcommit yourself. You are doing a service for specifically the indie authors. So if you can't post for them and help them out, let someone else do that. And you can help them out by buying their book that you want to read and spending money on their book. That's my opinion. Our fourth category, and probably the biggest one that I get the most questions about, is NetGalley. And I did not know what NetGalley was until I started my bookstagram, and my goal of, okay, I want to get X amount of followers to be able to get free books was instantly met, because you don't need a certain amount of followers on any type of social media to be able to access books on NetGalley. So let's get into how you can do that. First off, you don't even need a specific book social media account to be on NetGalley. Anyone can make an account. You need to sign up with an email. The only requirement is that you are posting book reviews somewhere. And my biggest recommendations for that is Goodreads. So if you have a Goodreads account, start posting actual reviews on there, not just the star rating. Post your thoughts. Let's walk through all the specifics of setting up a NetGalley account. First, we're going to go through your bio, and I'll be brave. I'm going to put mine right here. Basically, in your bio, it doesn't need to be long, and you don't have to include everything that I've included. You probably want to put where you post reviews, how many books you read per year, your preferred reading platform like ebook, audio, physical book, that type of thing. I put that I read the majority of my books on Kindle, and then I just updated it to audio too, because I listen to a ton of audio now, and that was not the case this time last year. I would also include genres that you enjoy reading, and also if you have a book specific social media platform, follower account. And then last year when I made my account, I put I'm on track to read X amount of books this year. And now for this year, I updated it to say how many books I actually read last year. So I read over 100 books last year, so I have that in my bio. There's also a area on NetGalley to fill out the links to where you share your reviews. So you want that to be your main platform. So mine's my Instagram. I've connected my Instagram on there. You can also probably link your Goodreads account or whatever book review platform you're on. I know that there's Storygraph and Fable as well. Goodreads is the tried and true, even though it's a dinosaur and a lot of us don't like it, but there you go. There's also an area to select categories and topics you're interested in. So category of books and topics that you like reading. Make sure you fill those out. And there's a little thing called feedback ratio. So this is what people who are approving books on NetGalley for the publishers or the indie authors, they're looking at your feedback ratio and they want to see that you are requesting books and then actually reading them and reviewing them. So the optimal feedback ratio is to be above 80%. And that's basically showing them that, yeah, these people that are requesting books are actually reviewing them. They're not just letting them sit around and not doing anything with them. So on that note, don't go crazy on the book requests, all right? And even before you start having thoughts about, well, I don't have a big following or I don't have a book specific account, there is a Read Now section. You can search books via the Read Now section. You can go into the Read Now, and this is specifically what I did. I went into the Read Now and picked out 5 children's picture books that were readily available, and I read through them and I left a review. And so my feedback ratio was 100% on 5 books. Now I will say the publishers can see your feedback percentage and the books that you've read. So you might have a little bit of hiccup if you're reading 5 children's books and then you're requesting thriller books to read and review. But I actually also found a thriller book I was interested in that was in the Read Now, and I read it and reviewed it. It was not my favorite, but I did it. And so that also got me on track to have the right books of what I want to read in the future. My advice on Read Now, it's not a request. It's a Read Now, push the button, send to my Kindle, or read it in the NetGalley app. If you do that on 10 thriller books or 10 romance books, your feedback ratio is going to be 0%, and you're going to have 10 books sitting there, and you're going to have to read and review those if you want your percentage to go up. So I would highly recommend not going crazy on the Read Now or even the approval. So even if you go through and apply for books that you want to read from publishers, you might get approved for those. It's just, it gets to be a lot really quickly. My biggest takeaway for NetGalley would be do the Read Now and request books with discernment. All right. There's also another trick, and it is for the audiobooks. So some people will request the physical and the audiobook versions, and then you will only have to read 1 book, but you get 2 reviews. So your percentage will go up because you're reviewing 2 books, but your time spent reading those books, it's only 1 book. So I actually have one sitting right now that I got approved for the physical and the audio. So I plan to listen to the audio of that just because I prefer audiobooks now, but then I can review both. So that'll push my percentage up really quickly because I'll have 2 books checked off at the same time. Additionally, another thing that I like to do on NetGalley is whenever I post my review on Instagram, again, you want to make sure the NetGalley will note if the publisher wants hashtags or tags, like what accounts to tag, and it also probably will give you maybe a phrase to say like, I received an advanced copy. There's specific wording that they want you to use. So make sure you copy and paste that into your caption of your social media posting. Also on your reviews in general on Goodreads and Amazon and Barnes & Noble, you want to make sure you're doing that. So what I do is on NetGalley, you actually review it on NetGalley and that gets sent to the publisher. So you don't even have to post on social media technically. You can just review it in NetGalley and send it to the publisher. What I do is I write my review on NetGalley, and then I copy and paste it into Goodreads, and then I take my Goodreads link and paste it into like any additional links that you want to share on NetGalley for reviews that you've posted. So when I submit my review that I've read the book to NetGalley, it shows the NetGalley review and that I've already reviewed it on Goodreads. So that's already 2 reviews. And then once I post on Instagram, you can go back into previous reviews and update them. So I will go back into that previous review and you can add additional links. So I'll add an additional link to my Instagram review. And then also, NetGalley usually sends you an email prompting saying, hey, this book you reviewed previously has now released, and you can copy and paste your NetGalley review into Amazon. And so that's an easy way for you to also get the review up on Amazon because you're prompted. And usually when you open the email and click through to Amazon to the book link, they're like, hey, we already copied your NetGalley review, so you just have to paste it in. So they make it very simple for you to review on Amazon as well. So that is 4 different reviews you're reviewing on NetGalley, Goodreads, social media, and Amazon. And then also for bonus points, you can go do Barnes & Noble. And again, always make sure you're copying and pasting back into your NetGalley where those links are, because publishers can see what books you've read previously, what star rating you've given them, how you've reviewed them, like all the links, and that's going to help with your future acceptance for ARCs. Okay, to wrap this all up, how do you review? And I probably have kind of answered that throughout, and it really depends on the distributor. So the indie author is going to have a certain way they want you to review, most likely all on social media, and then again on Goodreads and Amazon once the book is released. Publishers are going to want to see it. They might be a little more lax, but they're going to want to see probably a post on social media or Amazon, Goodreads type thing as well. And then NetGalley, less social media, more just make sure you have reviews out there. Goodreads, Amazon, Barnes & Noble are great places to review. Some of them may have a specific time frame or date, like I talked about with the book tours. Indie authors too like to see hype when they release their books. They're going to want to see book reviews around their release date. Additionally, if you're on a street team or a more involved ARC team, they're going to want specific dates for cover release or character art reveal or whatever they are wanting their team to do for them. But yeah, again, it just varies depending on who the distributor is. Thanks for watching my rundown of ARCs, what they are, how to get them, how I get them, all the things. If you have additional questions, please let me know in the comments. And like I said, we all love getting free books, and it is completely free for you to subscribe to my channel and watch this next video I have ready for you right here. Until next time, I hope all of your reads are 5 stars.